Hi, Simon here, GM8NYV. Just taking a break from doing the CL100, and I started a small little side project really. So I thought I'd make a little video of what I'm doing. This here, you may have noticed in the background of some of the other videos, is a Sailor radio station. It's the Sailor 1000 system. Now I came by this well, many years ago now, must have been quite a long time, about 2006. Anyway, at the time I was working on a semi-sub accommodation vessel, and we were refitting the radio room. I was the chief electrical tech there, so we were changing it all over to the GMDSS, which is a global maritime distress and safety system. Of course, this is an old-fashioned HF radio, marine band radio, and it covered up to 26 megs. Well, it had low frequencies as well, from down a few kilohertz up to 26 megahertz. Now I couldn't let this get thrown away in the skip. As we stripped out the radio room, it was this and a few other radios were destined to go in the skip. So speaking to the superintendent there, I arranged to get it. We were in Norway at the time, so I arranged to get it palleted, backloaded onto a supply ship and taken back to Aberdeen, and it was then stored up in the stores in the base in Aberdeen. And then I drove down from here, I leave, and I went down with my son, who had just passed his test. So it was quite a long drive for him, his first long drive, and we went to Aberdeen and we picked it up. Of course it comes apart, so we didn't have all that to go in the car. So this is it, and since I've had it back, I've not powered it up. I've not really used it. It was in the shed and it wasn't really faring very well in the shed. I really don't know what I was going to do with it, but I just could not let it go into a skip. So it's been here in the shack for a few years because it was getting damp in the shed, and I'll just go over it. Now it's a marine set, so I'll go over the details here quickly and a little plan that I'm planning to do with it. Right, the bottom part here is the power supply for the whole machine. Next up here we have a battery charger. Don't forget, in the ship's radio it ran on batteries. There's an inverter in here. It also ran on the ship's main power. Up from here we have the receiver. It's an R1120. Different receivers were fitted depending on the configuration. Above that we have the exciter. And of course, the exciter, I looked at it, is all programmed with these like thumbnails, thumb switches. Now this exciter, you've got different modes, of course, and it's mainly for ship, and it's all upper sideband, and of course telex and AM. Now then, this is the exciter, which then feeds the transmitter. The transmitter had a link on here. I've got the link here, it's just not fitted. So that's the T1127. I'm feeling it's 800 watts, so even for the amateur bands it's far too much. And above that we have this little tuning unit. Now the tuning unit is for the low bands. There you see 405 kilohertz. Then we've got a test one, we've got band 1, 2 and 3, and then for the higher frequencies it's just 1.6 to 28 megs. This big chunky coils move around inside, and that's the tuning. Then coming onto the top of the radio, you'll see the aerial connection here. It's connected directly into the aerial tuning unit. This is like a little mushroom here. It actually unscrews. It's quite a long space there for the insulation. As you can see in the top of the tuning unit, there's a coil, and that's the aerial connection there. Now this went up. This had a cable attached to the top that went through an insulator in the roof of the radio room. From there it went up on insulators, up the main mast, and then along down to the aft mast. Now I did power it up twice, so I know the receiver worked. The receiver worked when it was offshore, and I've had it powered up here once. The only thing is when you plug it in, the house lamps go dim, so it's not really anything I want to run here. And also, unfortunately, in the power supply, there's a bang. It still works, and when I opened it up, there's two capacitors, two big electrolytics had actually exploded, so they're probably all dried out and need reforming, so it's not a thing you want to really power up here. So my idea as a little side project was to use the receiver. Now, looking online, this receiver, it comes with its own separate power supply in a different configuration, so you can actually, for ships, you can actually have the receiver and its own little power supply just for this receiver alone. So I thought, why not? And I couldn't find one, and if I do find one, it's probably expensive. So I thought I'd build one. So that's what I intend doing here. It's a nice receiver. It's direct entry, up to 30 megs, or you can tune it with this rotary encoder here. So we've got it's a single sideband, but it's upper sideband, AM, CW, and modulated CW. Of course, if you're going to use lower sideband, you use a BFO here. The power supply I've seen online you can get with this, I can't remember the number, it's N something or other, dedicated power supply just for the receiver alone if you wanted to have a standalone system. And I'll probably never be able to find one, or if I do find one, they're probably expensive. So I decided to build my own. The voltages needed for this is, for some reason, minus 45 volts, plus 22 volts, and plus 8 volts. So I thought I'd look around and see what bits and pieces I've got here, with, and see if I can build one with the spares I have. Right, coming on to the next part. This is the power supply I'm building. I'll describe that in the next video, so I'll make it a part 2. I'll describe the operation of the power supply I'm building and hopefully see it working connected up to the receiver on its own.